This is Ecotricity's EcoTEC roundup show from Aotearoa's first and only climate-positive certified renewable electricity company. We only source from wind, hydro and solar, and we are the leading supplier of electricity to EVs in Aotearoa. Switch today at ecotricity.co.nz. Welcome back to another roundup of news from the world of clean cars and green energy. Thanks for joining me. I would love to tell you this week's news is full of amazing positive stuff, but I'd be lying. It's not. I will do my best to keep things as positive and as light as possible, but there's some backward sliding happening around the world, and we've got to tell you about it to make sure it doesn't get worse. And with that in mind, our first story today deals with the immediate effects of the cancellation late last week in the US of millions of US dollars set aside for EV charging. It might not directly affect Kiwi buyers, but it will indirectly. Allocated under the previous administration's NEVI funding programme, the White House announced an immediate halting of any funding under the programme late last week, leaving state officials, EV owners and industry insiders in the dark. While the US Department of Transportation has said funds already allocated will be paid out, that's not what we're hearing on the ground, and with future promised cuts from the White House against all EV and green energy projects, things aren't looking good. The only winner right now is Tesla, which is still getting $400 million from the federal government for armoured Cybertrucks. Actually approved by the previous administration, the Department of Defense quietly changed its just-released procurement budget for 2025 from armoured Teslas to armoured electric vehicles after public outcry. Welcome to the Kakistocracy, folks. As we've been noting, the stuff going on in the US for the last 3 weeks, wow, it has only been 3 weeks, has an impact on the wider world. This week, Ford CEO Jim Farley reiterated that fact very succinctly. Speaking at an investment conference this week, he pulled no punches differentiating the promises made during the election and what's actually been happening on the ground, calling what's been happening a, quote, lot of cost and a lot of chaos. Warning that trade wars and import tariffs will not only make it more costly for consumers, but also impact the industry's ability to react to threats from China, Farley clearly sounded the warning bell over what lay ahead. And of course, given that most automakers in the US are global brands, the effects will be felt globally. Based on what we're hearing, Ford's not going to be the last automaker to take a stand. Time for some good news now, namely that Volvo has unveiled a new variant of its EX30 EV, the EX30 Cross Country. Following in a long line of cross-country variants, the EX30 Cross Country is built to offer a little more rugged capabilities compared to its regular sibling, and includes a suspension raise and optional, larger 18-inch all-terrain tyres. There's the now ubiquitous contrast two-tone trim around the wheel arches, bumper and lower portions of the door, plus an underbody skid plate to offer extra motor and battery pack protection. Volvo says there's also going to be an optional package with roof carriers, mud flaps and roof baskets available when the car goes on sale, but I should note the EX30 Cross Country gets some interesting interior tweaks too, including modified door pockets to help carry more stuff. Pricing to follow. As we feared last week, Nissan's merger with Honda is now officially off, with the two firms confirming this week that they have ended all further talks on the matter. However, like all amicable splits, it looks like the two companies are willing to continue with strategic partnerships in key areas, primarily focusing on software-defined electric vehicle platforms. With the merger no longer happening, however, there's a new suitor in town interested in Nissan, Taiwanese tech manufacturing company Foxconn. This week, it confirmed it's interested in buying out Renault's stake in the Renault-Nissan alliance, freeing Renault from its ties with Nissan and giving Nissan a little more space to pursue its own goals. Obviously, Foxconn doesn't have a great reputation when it comes to expressing an interest in a company, only then to backtrack at the absolute worst time, so it's not clear if Nissan's board will ultimately accept Foxconn's overtures. Watch this space. Audi has officially revealed a new entry-level variant of its Q4 e-tron, the Audi Q4 40 e-tron. While we're not fans of Audi's complicated naming convention, the new entry-level model features a 63 kilowatt-hour battery pack paired with a 150 kilowatt electric motor, the capability to DC fast charge at speeds of up to 165 kilowatts, and importantly, the ability to manually precondition the battery pack prior to fast charging to ensure an efficient experience. Currently planned as a European-only model with a starting price of just over €46,000, this new model gives Audi fans a new, more affordable way into its EVs, not to mention giving prospective Volkswagen ID.4 customers an alternative to the ID.4's less traditional cabin design. We have long complained about the fact that most automakers seem super determined to only make electric vehicles with obscenely large battery packs, noting that most people just don't need massive daily ranges. To date, only Ford has hinted that we're right, commenting that the future of EVs depends on us making smaller, more efficient vehicles trendy again. Now BMW's development boss has hinted he agrees, telling Automotive News that EVs don't make sense if you just keep making battery packs larger and larger. While BMW already produces two models with massive battery packs, the iX and i7, his comments seem to suggest that BMW is potentially rethinking its future and looking to double down on energy efficiency rather than battery pack size, which, given how it abandoned one of the most efficient EVs of its generation, the BMW i3, is kind of sad and ironic. We have made a point of not covering Tesla since the US presidential inauguration, but this particular story is one we feel is important to cover because of its potential to wreak havoc in both the EV and wider automotive press. As reported this week by the Associated Press, Tesla is now openly suing owners in China who had sudden malfunctions with their vehicles or complained about quality control issues. It has also, according to the Associated Press, suddenly sued at least 6 content creators and 2 media outlets within China who criticised its vehicles and leadership. Further still, the AP alleges that news outlets in the area are being warned not to be negative about Tesla for fear of reprisal from the local government, officials from which have heavily invested in the company's success there. Given where things are going globally, we can expect those heavy-handed tactics to spread to other regions as well. While Porsche's first few years of producing the Taycan EV were great for the company, resulting in increased sales and consumer interest, the pendulum seems to be swinging the other way. The automaker confirmed this week that it's cutting 1,900 jobs at 2 of its factories in Europe, caused primarily by a precipitous drop in overall brand sales last year, combined with tough competition from Chinese brands in Asia. The job cuts haven't been confirmed to be impacting Porsche's Stuttgart Taycan production facility, but tied in with the news is reporting that Porsche is now looking to extend its internal combustion engine portfolio, investing in more combustion and plug-in hybrid models to, quote, strengthen the company's profitability in the short and medium term, end quote. Sadly, it's not the only company backtracking. Rivian, like many automakers, is already starting to feel the pinch of proposed tariffs in the US's burgeoning trade war against any country that isn't the US, and that will undoubtedly lead to increased prices for everyone. This week, Rivian announced that it would be putting up prices for Canadian customers for reasons other than trade wars, the changing exchange rate between the US and Canada. According to an email sent out this week, the R1S and R1T will both get a 10,000 Canadian dollar price hike in just over a week's time, and customers who want to keep the current pricing will have until then to lock in a lower price. While Rivian is blaming the US-Canadian exchange rate, it's honestly being caused by the thinly veiled threats that President Trump is sending Canada's way, complete with heavy tariffs and threats of illegal invasion. This timeline is the worst. It really is. But to finish the segment, some much-needed good news, namely the teasing of new electric vehicles from Kia as it prepares for its now annual EV Day. Kia has been on metaphorical fire in the last few years, throwing out more and more EV choices into the global marketplace. And while not every market is getting every model it makes, I would love the EV3 to come to the US, its next eGMP-based EVs are ready to break cover on February the 27th. At its second annual EV Day, Kia says it will reveal its EV2 concept car for the first time, along with the EV4. For now, we've just been given this teaser video, but Kia says it will also lay out its updated electrification strategy, which will not only rely on its passenger cars, but its recently revealed PV5 electric van. I cannot wait. Before we get to the last two stories, I have a quick question. Are you in the market for a new EV? Because if you are and you live in Aotearoa, you should totally check out our very own buyer's guide at ecotricity.co.nz. It's packed with tons of information you need to pick a car that's right for you and includes plenty of details about available vehicles, daily life with an EV, how to file and pay those pesky RUCs, and so much more. Follow the link below and start your journey today. And now it's time for those last two stories, and two stories that I hope will make you happy. We're off to New York for the first, where the city government is helping bicycle couriers stay safe. Highly publicised over the last few years, cycle couriers and gig workers with e-bikes in the city haven't always been buying the highest quality units, leading to battery fires and all kinds of horrid stuff. But after passing new legislation designed to outlaw overpowered e-bikes and non-UL certified e-bikes, the New York City Department of Transportation is now offering an e-bike trade-in program. It allows low-paid courier and gig workers the chance to swap out bikes that aren't legal or safe for new ones that are. In addition to a new certified e-bike, participants will get a spare battery and a charger, allowing them to stay safe and on the road. I know some political groups would call this waste, but I call it looking out for each other. And finally, we love ourselves some retro cars on this channel, from retro mods through to DIY conversions, and luckily in the EV world, there's plenty of that to go around. But this week, a new type of retro-themed EV caught our eye, courtesy of Italian coach-building firm Caselani. It's taken the Citroën Ami quadricycle, which, let's face it, is already a fun, funky design in its own right, and added a retro body kit that turns it into something that's reminiscent of the iconic Citroën HY vans of days gone by. Complete with corrugated body panels to mimic the original pressed metal of the original HY van, it's the fourth retro-themed vehicle to be designed by the firm, and frankly, I think it's the best looking of all of them. What say you? Let me know in the down below. And on that note, we're done for the day. But before I go, make sure you've hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the latest in EV news from the channel. And of course, if you haven't already switched, it's high time to switch to Aotearoa's first and only climate positive certified renewable electricity provider. It's super easy to make the switch, and in doing so, you'll help the nation wean itself off dirty energy and onto clean green power that will keep the land beautiful for generations to come. I'll be back next week, but in the meantime, do check out the lovely Gavin Kiwi EV Shoebridge on this very same channel. He's always doing something that's well worth a look, so do make sure you've hit subscribe. Thanks for joining me. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. Ka kite! See you next time.